Story 1. I'm the owner of Elegant Occasions, a small but successful boutique in our town that specializes in formal wear. We carry everything from wedding dresses to prom gowns, and I take enormous pride in offering quality garments at fair prices. My store isn't huge, but I've built a loyal customer base over the past 8 years. Prom season is always our busiest time, and this year was no exception. That's when I met the woman I'll call Tiffany, though everyone online now knows her simply as Prom Dress Karen. It started like many of our sales. Tiffany and her daughter Amber came in 3 weeks before prom. Amber was sweet and excited, trying on several dresses before falling in love with our designer blue silk gown with crystal beading. It was one of our most expensive pieces at $800, but Tiffany didn't bat an eye. Tiffany, my baby deserves the best for her senior prom. We'll take it. I remember being pleased with the sale, but also warning them about our return policy, which I always make very clear to customers buying expensive items. Just so you know, our policy for formal wear over $500 is that we only accept returns if the dress is unworn, with tags attached, and in original condition. Once altered in any way, it can't be returned. Tiffany, of course. We wouldn't dream of returning it. It's perfect. They left happy, and I didn't think much more about it until Tiffany stormed into my shop 2 days after prom, carrying a shopping bag. Tiffany, I need to return this dress immediately. She practically threw the bag onto my counter. I opened it and nearly gasped. Inside was the beautiful blue gown, but it was barely recognizable. The full-length dress had been chopped off unevenly at mid-thigh. The sleeves were completely removed. Several crude cutouts had been made along the sides, and the back had been drastically lowered with jagged edges. What happened to the dress? Tiffany, Amber modified it a little for her TikTok video. It needed to be more trendy and unique for her social media. But now prom is over, so we'd like our money back. I stared at her, thinking this had to be a joke. I'm sorry, but I can't accept this return. As I explained when you purchased it, we don't accept returns on altered items. This dress has been completely cut apart. Her face changed instantly. The polite smile vanished and was replaced with a glare that would curdle milk. Tiffany, excuse me? I paid $800 for this dress. That's basically robbery anyway. The least you can do is take it back. Ma'am, this dress is now unsellable. It's been cut into pieces. Tiffany, so that's not my problem. Your job is to make customers happy, and I'm telling you I want my money back. Now. By this point, other customers were starting to stare. I lowered my voice and tried to remain professional. I understand you're upset, but our policy was clear. I can't refund a dress that's been modified this extensively. Tiffany, listen to me. My daughter only wore it for a few hours. It's practically new. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It's been cut into pieces. That's not practically new. Tiffany, it absolutely is. She got tons of views on her TikTok showing how to customize a boring prom dress. We did you a favor with the free advertising. She pulled out her phone and showed me a TikTok video of Amber cutting up the dress while dancing and laughing. The caption read, "Turning basic boutique dress into custom couture." I felt sick watching the beautiful gown being destroyed. I'm sorry, but the answer is still no. I can't refund you for a dress that's been cut apart. That's when she really lost it. Tiffany, do you know who I am? My husband is on the Chamber of Commerce. We spend thousands in this town. How dare you treat a loyal customer this way? You've never shopped here before the prom dress. Tiffany, well, I was planning to become a loyal customer, but now I'll make sure everyone knows how terribly you treat people. I want to speak to your manager right now. I am the owner. Tiffany, then I want your boss. There is no boss. I own this store. Tiffany, then I'll call the police. This is theft. At this point, I was done with the conversation. My shop has security cameras for safety, and I gestured toward the one in the corner. Me, feel free to call whoever you want. Everything that's happened here is on camera, including me clearly explaining our return policy when you bought the dress, and you agreeing to it. Tiffany, are you calling me a liar? Me, I'm saying the camera doesn't lie. And neither does this TikTok video of your daughter intentionally cutting up an $800 dress. She stared at me for a moment, then snatched the mangled dress back. Tiffany, you haven't heard the last of this. I'll destroy your business. Everyone will know how you scam people. She stomped out, nearly knocking over a rack of dresses on her way. I thought that would be the end of it, but the next day, I saw she'd left 1-star reviews everywhere she could find, claiming I had sold her daughter a defective dress that fell apart during prom and refused to refund her. She even claimed her daughter had been humiliated and traumatized when the dress spontaneously ripped apart. That was when I decided enough was enough. With careful consideration of privacy laws, I posted a short clip from my security footage showing Tiffany and Amber agreeing to the return policy, alongside a screenshot from Amber's public TikTok of her cutting up the dress. I didn't include any personal information, just the facts. My post read, "As a small business owner, I try to accommodate reasonable requests. Returning a dress after intentionally cutting it into pieces isn't reasonable. Please consider that local businesses can't afford to take losses on destroyed merchandise." I didn't expect what happened next. My post went viral. Other local business owners reached out with their own Tiffany stories. Apparently, she had a history of buying expensive items, using them, damaging them, and then demanding refunds with threats and tantrums. People from our community were incredibly supportive. 3 other boutique owners in town messaged me privately to say they were putting Tiffany on their do not sell list. Customers came in specifically to buy things and show their support. The final twist came when Amber herself came to my store a week later, looking embarrassed. "Amber, I'm really sorry about what happened. My mom made me take down the TikTok, but it already had over 10,000 views. I didn't know she was going to try to return the dress. I thought it was understood that cutting it up meant we couldn't bring it back." Me, thank you for apologizing. That means a lot. Amber, she does this kind of thing all the time. Dad's not really on the Chamber of Commerce either. He works at the hardware store. I felt bad for the girl. It wasn't her fault her mother behaved this way. Me, don't worry about it. Just maybe think twice before cutting up expensive clothes in the future. Amber, definitely. And just so you know, my mom can't show her face at the grocery store right now because everyone's seen your video. She's furious, but maybe she'll learn something. I seriously doubt Tiffany learned anything from the experience, but I did learn that standing up for myself was the right move. My business is doing better than ever, and during this year's prom season, we added a new line to our receipt that customers must initial. I understand that cutting, ripping, or otherwise intentionally damaging merchandise will void any possibility of return. So far, we haven't had any problems. And sometimes, customers even recognize me from the story and ask if I'm the lady who stood up to prom dress Karen. I guess there are worse things to be known for. Story 2. My name's not important, but what is important is that I've been organizing the Run for the Children 5K fundraiser for the past 3 years. We raise money for the Children's Hospital, and it's always been a smooth event until this year. Planning started 6 months ago. I got all the permits, mapped the route through Pleasant Hills neighborhood. It has the least traffic and nice, wide streets, and recruited about 50 volunteers to help. We expected around 300 runners, this year our biggest turnout yet. The day started perfectly. It was sunny but not too hot, and everybody was excited. The registration table was busy, volunteers were setting up water stations, and the DJ was playing upbeat music to get people pumped up. I was checking the starting line when my friend Tom came running up to me, looking worried. "Tom, there's a problem on Maple Street. Some lady is blocking the route and refuses to move." Me, what? The race starts in 20 minutes. Tom, I know. She's standing in the middle of the street with her arms crossed. A couple of volunteers tried talking to her, but she just started yelling. I sighed and told them to make sure everything else was ready while I handled this. I figured it was probably just a misunderstanding, maybe someone who didn't get the notification about the road closures and was upset about not being able to drive somewhere. Boy, was I wrong. When I got to Maple Street, about a quarter mile from the starting line, I saw her, a woman in her 50s with short blonde hair styled in that classic "I want to speak to your manager" cut. She was standing right in the middle of the street with a garden chair placed behind her like she was planning to stay a while. I approached her with my best diplomatic smile. "Good morning. I'm the organizer of today's charity run. Is there a problem I can help with?" The woman, let's call her the cat lady, glared at me like I just suggested we bulldoze her house. Cat lady: "Yes, there's a problem. You people and your ridiculous running event are going to terrify my precious mittens." She pointed dramatically to her house, where I could see a fat orange cat sitting in the window, looking completely unbothered. "I'm sorry about that, but we have all the necessary permits for this event. The city sent out notifications 3 weeks ago about the temporary road closure." Cat lady: "I don't care about your permits. My cat has anxiety, and all these people running past my house will trigger an episode. He might never recover." I took a deep breath. The starting line was going to sound off soon, and I didn't have time for this. "Ma'am, I understand your concern, but this is a charity event for the Children's Hospital. Over 300 people are participating, and we've gone through all the proper channels. The runners will pass by your house in just a few minutes, and it'll all be over in less than an hour." Cat lady: "No, I pay taxes on this street, and I did not give permission for this. You need to reroute your little jog somewhere else." At this point, a small crowd of volunteers and curious neighbors had gathered. One of them, an older gentleman who lived across the street, stepped forward. "Neighbor, oh, come on, Susan. It's for charity. Let the kids have their run." Cat lady: "Stay out of this. Harold, your dog barks all night, so you clearly don't care about anyone's peace and quiet." This was quickly spiraling out of control. I checked my watch. 10 minutes until the start. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to move. We have a legal permit for this event, and blocking it could be considered interference with a city-approved activity." Cat lady: "Are you threatening me? I'm a taxpayer. I have rights." She sat down in her garden chair, crossing her arms. I was starting to panic a little. We couldn't reroute 300 runners at the last minute. I called Tom. "We need help on Maple Street. Contact the police officer who's stationed at the finish line." 5 minutes later, a police officer arrived. He was a middle-aged guy with a patient expression that suggested he'd dealt with plenty of situations like this before. "Officer, what seems to be the problem here?" I explained the situation while the cat lady interrupted every few seconds with complaints about her cat's delicate nervous system. The officer listened to both sides and then turned to her. "Officer, ma'am, they have a permit for this event. You were notified about it weeks ago. I'm going to have to ask you to move aside." Cat lady: "I will not. This is harassment. I'm being harassed in my own neighborhood." The officer sighed. "Officer, ma'am, if you don't move, you'll be interfering with a permitted event, which is against City Ordinance 523B. I'd have to issue you a citation." Cat lady: "Go ahead. Give me a ticket. I'll fight it in court. I'll sue this whole running group for animal cruelty." By now, I could hear the starting horn in the distance. The runners would be reaching us in minutes. The officer made one more attempt to reason with her, but she wasn't budging. Then he got on his radio and requested another officer. I was trying to figure out what to do when I had an idea. I walked over to a group of volunteers who were watching the scene unfold. "We need to create a detour. Quick, grab the extra route markers from my car and set up a path through Green Street. We'll have to cut through the park to get back on route." The volunteers rushed off, and I turned back to see the cat lady still arguing with the officer. Then I heard the sound of hundreds of footsteps approaching. The lead runners came around the corner and stopped abruptly when they saw the blockade. I ran over to them. Sorry, guys, we have a slight detour. Follow the volunteers to the right. They'll guide you back to the main route. The runner started following my instructions, but the cat lady suddenly jumped up from her chair and spread her arms wide. Cat lady, stop. You're scaring my cat. Everyone stop running right now. She started running back and forth, trying to physically block the stream of runners who were now attempting to follow our hastily arranged detour. It was absolute chaos. Some runners stopped in confusion, others tried to carefully maneuver around her, and a few just stood there laughing at the absurdity of it all. The officer grabbed his radio again, looking significantly less patient now. Officer, I need backup at the charity run on Maple Street. We have an individual actively disrupting the event. A second police car arrived within minutes. By this time, most of the runners had managed to get past using our improvised detour, but the cat lady was still causing a scene, now lying down on the pavement to prevent the last stragglers from passing. The two officers approached her together. Officer, ma'am, this is your final warning. Please remove yourself from the public roadway. Cat lady, I'm protecting my property and my pet. This is America. The officers looked at each other, then carefully helped the cat lady to her feet and placed her in handcuffs. Cat lady, this is outrageous. Police brutality. I'm being oppressed. The neighbor, Harold, who had been watching the whole time, just shook his head. Harold, Susan, your cat is literally sleeping in the window. He doesn't care about the runners. And sure enough, when we all looked, the orange cat was stretched out on the windowsill, peacefully napping despite all the commotion. The officers escorted the cat lady to the police car, explaining that she was being charged with disturbing the peace and interfering with a permitted event. She continued shouting about her rights and how she'd sue everyone involved all the way until they closed the car door. I thanked the officers profusely and then rushed to check on the rest of the event. Despite the delay and detour, the race continued successfully. Most of the runners found the whole incident amusing rather than annoying, and some even made "save mittens" jokes as they crossed the finish line. Later that afternoon, after everything was cleaned up and the funds were counted, we raised over $15,000 for the children's hospital. I ran into one of the officers again. How did things go with the cat lady? Officer, she's been released with a citation and a court date. She'll probably have to pay a fine. Nothing major, but enough to make her think twice before pulling something like this again. I still can't believe she thought a cat's nap was more important than a charity event for sick kids. The officer laughed. Officer, in my 10 years on the force, I've learned that some people's sense of entitlement knows no bounds. But don't worry, next year, we'll station an officer on Maple Street from the start. I thanked him again and headed home, exhausted but relieved that the day had been a success despite the unexpected drama, and I made a mental note to slightly alter next year's route just enough to avoid passing directly in front of a certain cat owner's house. As for the cat lady, I heard from neighbors that she became something of a local legend. People would jokingly ask about Mitten's mental health whenever they passed her house. I almost felt bad for her, almost. But then I remembered the faces of the kids at the hospital when we presented them with a donation check, and suddenly, one entitled cat owner's tantrum seemed very small in comparison. Story 3. Let me tell you how one entitled woman turned our town's celebration into a ridiculous spectacle that nobody will forget. It was Monday, July 1st, and I was taking my usual morning jog through Liberty Park, where our town holds its annual fireworks display. The event wasn't until Thursday night, but as I approached the main viewing area, I noticed something strange. There was a cluster of about 10 lawn chairs right in the prime viewing spot, all roped off with yellow caution tape like some kind of VIP section. Standing guard was a woman in her late 50s with that classic, "I need to speak to your manager" haircut, wearing expensive-looking exercise clothes and oversized sunglasses. She was arranging the chairs with military precision. Confused, I slowed down my jog and approached her. Excuse me, is there some kind of private event happening here? She looked at me like I just asked if the sky was green. Woman, these are my chairs for the fireworks display. Oh, but that's not until Thursday. Today is only Monday. She adjusted her sunglasses and gave me a condescending smile. Woman, exactly. I'm making sure my family gets the best spot. I do this every year. You set up chairs 3 days early. Woman, first come, first served. That's the American way. My husband works 60 hours a week, and we pay plenty in taxes for this park. We deserve the best view. I was pretty sure that wasn't how public parks worked, but I decided not to argue. Okay, well, have a nice day. I continued my jog, thinking that was the end of it. Little did I know, I had just met Karen, who would soon become infamous in our town of 30,000 people. The next morning, I took the same route and saw that Karen's chair empire had expanded. She now had about 15 chairs arranged in a semicircle, with a small table in the center holding a cooler. The area was now wrapped with even more caution tape, and she'd added little American flag decorations to each chair. But what really caught my attention was the handwritten sign. Reserved, do not touch, violators will be reported to authorities. As I jogged past, I noticed Karen sitting in a folding chair under a small canopy tent, eating a sandwich and watching the area like a hawk. She was actually guarding the chairs. I waved awkwardly, and she just stared at me. By Wednesday morning, word had spread around town about the chair lady at Liberty Park. When I arrived for my jog, there was a small crowd gathered at the edge of her territory. Karen was in a heated argument with a park maintenance worker. Maintenance worker, ma'am, you can't reserve public space like this. The park opens to everyone at 6 a.m. on the 4th for the celebration. Karen, I've been setting up early for years and nobody has ever complained. This is harassment. Maintenance worker, we've received several complaints. I'm sorry, but you'll need to remove these chairs until tomorrow morning. Karen, do you know who my husband is? He's on the Chamber of Commerce. I'll have your job for this. The poor maintenance guy looked defeated and walked away, talking into his radio. Karen turned to the small crowd that had gathered. Karen, take pictures. I want witnesses to this harassment. Some teenagers actually did start taking pictures, but I could tell from their snickering that they weren't exactly on her side. I decided to keep running before I got pulled into the drama. That evening, I checked our town's community Facebook page and saw that Chair Lady, as she was now known, had become the hot topic. Someone had posted photos of her setup, and the comments were filled with people sharing their own encounters with her. Apparently, she had called the police on a family who sat down to have a picnic too close to her chairs. According to the post, the police had shown up, looked confused, and left without taking any action. By Thursday morning, July 4th, I was too curious not to check out the situation. I expected that maybe the city had made her remove the chairs, but when I arrived at the park around 7 a.m., I was shocked. Karen had not only maintained her position, but she had expanded dramatically. There were now at least 25 chairs arranged in rows, a large canopy tent, multiple coolers, a portable fan, and even a small generator. The caution tape had been upgraded to actual stanchions with rope, like she was hosting a red carpet event. Karen was there with who I assumed was her husband, a tired-looking man who kept checking his phone, and a teenage son who looked like he wanted to disappear. As more families started arriving at the park for the all-day celebration, things got tense. Karen had stationed herself at the entrance to her territory and was turning people away if they came too close. I was watching from a nearby bench when a family with small children approached the area adjacent to Karen's setup. Father, is it okay if we set up our blanket here? We're not touching your chairs. Karen, that's still too close. This entire section is reserved. Mother, but you can't reserve a public area like this. We're just trying to find a spot for our kids to see the fireworks. Karen, Well, you should have come 3 days ago like I did. This isn't my problem. The father looked upset but tried to remain calm. Father, look, we're just going to set up right here. We won't touch your things. Karen immediately pulled out her phone. Karen, fine. I'm calling the police. You've been warned. The family looked at each other in disbelief, but they stood their ground and set up their blanket about 10 feet from Karen's chairs. True to her word, Karen made a call, speaking loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. Karen, hello, police? I need to report trespassers in Liberty Park. They're threatening my property. Yes, I'll hold. By this point, a crowd had gathered to watch the drama unfold. Some people were filming with their phones. The family tried to ignore her and set up their picnic, but you could tell they were uncomfortable with the attention. About 20 minutes later, 2 police officers arrived. Karen immediately rushed over to them, pointing at the family and several other groups who had set up near her chairs. Karen, these people are trying to steal the spots I reserved. I've been here since Monday securing this area for my family. The officers looked at each other, and one of them took Karen aside while the other started talking to some of the other parkgoers. I couldn't hear everything they were saying, but it was clear the conversation wasn't going Karen's way. She kept gesturing wildly and pointing at her chairs. What happened next was unexpected. A van from our local news station pulled up. Apparently, someone had tipped them off about the chair situation, and they smelled a good human interest story for the slow holiday morning news. A reporter and cameraman approached just as a third vehicle arrived. This one had the City Parks Department logo on it. Out stepped the parks director and another official-looking person carrying a clipboard. The parks director spoke briefly with the police officers, then approached Karen. I moved a little closer so I could hear what was happening. Parks director, ma'am, I'm John Reynolds, Director of Parks and Recreation. I understand you've set up this area in advance of tonight's event? Karen, that's right. We do this every year. Parks director, well, I'm afraid you're in violation of City Ordinance 47B, which prohibits unattended items left in city parks overnight. Also, you can't rope off public areas for private use. Karen, but I wasn't unattended. I've been here guarding the chairs. Parks director, you've been here 24 hours a day since Monday. Karen's husband finally spoke up. Karen's husband, honey, maybe we should just... Karen, don't you dare take their side. Richard, we pay taxes for this park. The parks director handed her the clipboard. Parks director, this is a citation for illegal use of public property. The fine is $250. Karen, this is outrageous. I'm not paying this. By now, the news crew was filming everything, and a crowd of at least 50 people had gathered to watch. The reporter was doing a live stand-up report, explaining the situation to the morning news audience. Karen noticed the camera and suddenly changed her approach, trying to look reasonable. Karen, I'm just a mother trying to give my family a nice holiday. Is that so wrong? But it was too late. The parks director signaled to a crew of workers who had arrived with a small truck. Parks director, we'll be removing these items now. You can claim them at the Parks Department office tomorrow. Karen, don't you dare touch my property. Richard, do something. Richard looked like he wanted the ground to swallow him whole. Karen's husband, Karen, please. Everyone is watching. Karen, I don't care. This is America. This is private property. The parks crew started dismantling her setup, loading chairs into their truck, while the news crew captured everything. Karen tried to physically block them, which led to the police officers stepping in to escort her away from the area. She was screaming about her rights the entire time. Karen, you'll be hearing from my lawyer. Do you know how much these chairs cost? This is theft. The officers didn't arrest her, but they did walk her to the park entrance, with her husband and mortified son following behind. The news crew followed the whole procession, still broadcasting live. By evening, the chair drama was forgotten as everyone enjoyed the fireworks display. The spot where Karen had set up her chairs was now filled with families on blankets, all sharing the prime viewing area. The next day, the story was everywhere. Someone had created a meme of Chair Lady that went viral on social media. The local news ran a segment called "How Early is Too Early" about fireworks etiquette. A week later, I saw Karen at the grocery store. She was wearing big sunglasses and a hat, clearly trying not to be recognized. Our eyes met briefly, and I gave her a small nod. She quickly looked away and hurried down another aisle. I heard later that she paid the fine and eventually picked up her chairs from the Parks Department. The following year, a new city rule was added to the 4th of July celebration guidelines. No chairs or blankets may be left unattended before 6 a.m. on July 4th. They didn't name it the Karen rule, but everyone in town knew exactly why it existed. Story 4. It was the day of our final math exam, the one that would determine if I graduated with honors or just scraped by. I'd been studying for weeks, barely sleeping, living off energy drinks and protein bars. Our school has this weird setup where the gym doubles as our exam hall during finals week. Usually, it works fine since all outside activities get rescheduled. But not today. I was sitting at my desk, staring at the complex calculus problems in front of me, when the double doors at the back of the gym burst open. In walks this middle-aged woman in neon pink spandex, carrying one of those huge portable speakers. Mr. Thompson, our math teacher who was supervising the exam, looked up in shock. "Mr. Thompson, excuse me, ma'am, we're in the middle of a final exam here." The woman, let's call her Karen, didn't even acknowledge him. She just marched to the center of the gym, put down her speaker, and started setting it up. "Mr. Thompson, ma'am, this is a school exam. You need to leave immediately." "Karen, this is my Zumba time. I booked this gym every Thursday at 2 p.m. "Mr. Thompson, the school canceled all extracurricular activities during finals week. Didn't you get the email?" "Karen, I don't care about your emails. I paid for this time slot, and I'm going to use it." By now, everyone had stopped working on their exams. 30 stressed-out seniors were watching this showdown, including me. I checked my watch. We'd only been testing for 20 minutes, and we had another hour and a half to go. "Mr. Thompson, please lower your voice. These students are taking an important exam." "Karen, not my problem. I drive 30 minutes to get here. I'm not going home without my workout." She pulled out her phone and started scrolling through her playlist. Mr. Thompson walked over to her, speaking in a hushed tone that I could still hear from my seat in the front row. "Mr. Thompson, ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to leave, or I'll call security." "Karen, go ahead. I'll just tell them how I paid good money for this slot, and now you're trying to kick me out." Mr. Thompson sighed and walked over to the wall phone to call the front office. While he was on the phone, Karen did the unthinkable. She cranked up her speaker to maximum volume and blasted Despacito. The sound was deafening. It echoed around the gym, bouncing off the walls. My heart sank. I couldn't concentrate with this noise. Nobody could. Karen started doing her Zumba routine right in the middle of the gym, between rows of desks where bewildered students sat with their exam papers. Some of my classmates put their hands over their ears. Others looked at each other in disbelief. I just stared at my paper, watching my chances of a scholarship disappear with every beat of that horrible music. Mr. Thompson was shouting into the phone now, but I couldn't hear what he was saying. Nobody could hear anything over Karen's music. After what felt like an eternity, but was probably only 2 minutes, our principal, Miss Garcia, burst through the doors with 2 security guards. Miss Garcia marched straight to the speaker and unplugged it. The sudden silence was almost as jarring as the music had been. "Miss Garcia, what is the meaning of this?" "Karen, I booked this gym for my Zumba class. They're trying to steal my time slot." "Miss Garcia, ma'am, all external bookings were suspended during finals week. Notices were sent out a month ago." "Karen, well, I never got any notice." "Miss Garcia, did you check your email?" "Karen, I don't check that spam." "Miss Garcia, It was also posted on the school website and on signs at all gym entrances for the past 2 weeks. Karen, I didn't see any signs. One of the security guards pointed to the massive red sign on the door she had just walked through. Gym closed for final exams May 1st 7. All external activities canceled. Karen, that doesn't apply to me. I paid for the whole semester in advance. Miss Garcia, ma'am, your payment was refunded for these 2 weeks. If you check your account, you'll see the credit. Karen, I don't care about refunds. I care about my routine. I have a fitness Instagram account, and I promised my followers a live workout today. By this point, my classmates and I were just watching the drama unfold. Our exam was effectively ruined. Some people had given up completely and were just enjoying the show. Miss Garcia, sir, please escort this woman from the premises. The security guards moved toward Karen, but she backed away. Karen, don't you dare touch me. I know my rights. Miss Garcia, your rights don't include disrupting an academic examination. Now please leave voluntarily, or we'll have to remove you. Karen, fine, I'm going. But you haven't heard the last of this. She unplugged her speaker, picked it up, and stormed out, but not before turning back to shout at us. Karen, you're all witnesses. They're discriminating against me. I'll be calling my lawyer. The door slammed behind her, and the gym fell into silence. Miss Garcia turned to face us. Miss Garcia, I am so sorry about that disruption. We're going to add 30 minutes to your exam time to make up for this. Mr. Thompson, and we'll take this incident into account when grading. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. 2 days later, I was working my shift at the local coffee shop when Karen walked in. She didn't recognize me, but I definitely recognized her. She was talking loudly on her phone. Karen, yes, I'm filing a lawsuit against Westlake High. No, they can't treat me like that. What do you mean I don't have a case? I tried to hide my smile as I took her order. A caramel frappuccino with extra whipped cream and chocolate drizzle, of course. A week later, when I was picking up my younger brother from school, I overheard Miss Garcia talking to another teacher in the hallway. Miss Garcia, can you believe it? She actually tried to sue us. Her lawyer dropped her when he saw the video footage from the security cameras. The other teacher, what's happening now? Miss Garcia, well, since her disruption affected 30 students' exams, the school board is countersuing her for academic disruption and the cost of administering a makeup exam. I couldn't help but interrupt. Excuse me, Miss Garcia, are we going to have to retake the exam? Miss Garcia, oh, no. We decided that would be unfair to you all. We've adjusted the grading curve instead. But she doesn't need to know that. 2 months later, as I was packing for college, yes, I got my scholarship despite the Zumba incident. My mom showed me an article from the local newspaper. Karen had been ordered to pay a $5,000 fine for disrupting the exam and was banned from all school property for 2 years. The best part? The judge ordered her to write a formal apology to every student in that exam room. I still have mine framed on my wall. It starts with, "I deeply regret my actions." But you can feel the entitlement seething through every forced word. Sometimes I wonder if she ever realized just how wrong she was. Probably not. People like that rarely do.